Okay, go ahead, Derek.
Okay, great. I'd like to call the Conservation Advisory Council to order the September 2nd, 2020 meeting. Why don't we start by doing the roll?
Okay, I'll call the roll, Dirk. Ellen DeViro,
Here.
Amanda Mathusic,
Here.
Jeannie Orr, not here. Tina Lee,
Here.
Chelsea Ratner, don't believe she's here. Jill Connell, don't believe she's here. Catherine Carter,
Here.
Ashok,
Here.
and Dart.
Present, yep, here. Okay, we don't have any minutes to approve, so I suggest we go to privilege of the floor. So Anastasia, if you'd like to address the board, you may. Please give your full name and address.
My name is Anastasia Pease, and I live at 889 Inman Road in Niskayuna. My concern today was, I was encouraged to bring up my concern today by Ashok. The foliage season is upon us pretty soon, and my concern was so many of us in Niskayuna rake up our leaves and pick up every last one and have them hauled away, when in fact the leaves and the foliage are a very good soil building material and natural fertilizer. And I realized that many of my neighbors scrape all the leaves off, have it hauled away, and then actually use artificial fertilizer for their lawns and gardens. And my concern is, how can we raise awareness that keeping at least some of the foliage and making it part of the soil is better for the environment than scraping it off and using artificial fertilizers. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? Or?
So what do you do with your leaves?
Well, for the longest time, I've been in Niskayuna for 10 years. For the longest time, we did what other neighbors did. We scraped everything off. But the last few years, we've asked our lawn care professionals and did it ourselves to shred some of the foliage and leave it on the lawn in order to build the soil, because otherwise the soil goes lower and lower and exposes the roots of our trees, etc. And it's been a few years, and it's working pretty well. So I'm just curious what we could do to raise awareness that there is no detriment to doing that, but only benefits, and the environment benefits, and our water potentially stays free of artificial fertilizers that seep down to the water table.
So does the commercial person you use do that often for a lot of their clients, or are you the first that asked them, or?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a business owner, but also a neighbor. But I could talk to him about it.
It'd be interesting if they gave, if people have commercial outfits doing their lawns, if they gave them that option.
Yeah, see, I don't know. As far as I can tell, everything just gets vacuumed up and hauled away or vacuumed by the city.
Does your commercial lawn care company, does he kind of mulch them in place, or does he collect them, shred them, and redistribute them on the lawn?
He has equipment that allows some of it to get mulched in place and just kind of spreads it around.
Okay.
And we help him. We rake things back up again.
Okay. When he does that, what does the lawn look like? Does it still look like it's somewhat covered with leaves, or is it relatively green as if you had raked them up? I'm just kind of curious.
It's covered with a very light layer of shredded foliage.
Okay.
It's as though we raked it all up, but just left a little bit behind.
Okay.
Yeah, we mulch our yard in the fall, and it depends on how many leaves are on the lawn. So if you let it go for too long, then you have to we end up doing it twice,
Right.
like in one direction and the other direction to really make them fine. But
Yeah, I do it on my lawn, and then what they're saying is totally true. Like sometimes you have to mow it once, and then there's some bigger pieces left, and then you just mow it again, like in the next weekend, and it looks like you raked it, and it mostly looks like wheat, and mostly looks like grass.
Laura, was any of this addressed in any of the pesticide-free literature that was part of our packet? I didn't get to totally read, all of the documents, which were great. It was wonderful to have those assembled, but it kind of goes along with the pesticide-free lawn and not being worried about creating this mat of green turf, and I think it's an important point. We have very few trees, but our neighbors have a lot of trees which wind up on our lawn, and we compost them and also just shred them in place. So it might be something to include in some of our documents.
Yeah, we could definitely include it in there, and we could also do like just an email blast on try mowing your for a change. And like Anastasia was saying, like you don't have to do it for all of them. Maybe in the beginning of the fall, when the first kind of level of leaves come down, you can mow them, and then when some people have really good trees, when it gets to be too much, then you can rake them.
Yeah. So, in regards to this, I just think that we have to. I think I sent this to you. So if we do everything needs to be broken down into segments. So I think that that the blast that you were saying, how I think the historical person does it, whereas you get the tips for that month, things that you should be doing for your lawn this month. Think, what I mean? Because I think if you send all of this together, it's just too overwhelming, and it makes you feel like a bad it doesn't make you want to embrace going pesticide free and doing all that. So I think that depending on where that sits, and then having it so that our website, when they go to CAC, so then they can click on CAC, and then there's like spring tips, there's fall tips, there's pesticide, this is all those different things, and then they click on them, and then they can then find the other information. I think we just need to keep breaking it down and keep siphoning it off. So I think there's a bunch of, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ellen. So I know we get flyers for foliage pickup by area, and I don't know if the board has any say in what goes onto these flyers. I know it's the space is at a premium, but I'm wondering if we could include something to the effect of consider mulching some of your foliage in the flyer that the city, the town sends out to everybody, saying by area where the foliage will get picked up. Another thing is, forgive me, I'm new to this, but in the newspaper, Your Niskayuna, maybe we could put something in there as well, saying, hey, do you worry about the environment? Do you want to keep your soil? Why don't you do that? I'm happy to write something for the paper.
that's run by the Gazette?
Yes.
I believe so.
Mhm.
So I think that they would, I'm pretty sure that the Gazette would, would welcome that, I think they're always looking for articles to print. So I think that's a great idea.
Mhm. Well, and
Yeah.
if it's just for me, it's one thing. But if the town board or the conservation board endorses something like that, I think it would carry more weight.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm happy to draft an article saying, or bullet points saying this is what to do if you care about building your soil. And I'd be happy to run it past you and see what you have to say and for approval and so on.
Do we still have the points from the I think it was from Cornell Cooperative Extension for the fall plans for how to take care of your lawn in the fall? Do we have that?
Oh, I should have thought of that.
Was that, when did we look at that? We probably do still have it somewhere.
So that was I think it was, maybe it was last fall, but this is what, because the fall is when you overseed, right? This is when you overseed, and then you and then so
that was last year, wasn't it? Last summer? Or was it 2 summers ago?
I honestly,
I think it
Yeah, I think it was.
But I believe that they.
That's okay. Is that part of the whole presentation that was given? Because I just looked at that not too long ago.
Was that the David Chinnery one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely in there.
Yeah, I thought he laid out, or there was like a little, snippet, of the things that you that you should do, for your fall, for your lawn for spring, how to,
I know we have that, Laura. I'll send that out tomorrow because I looked at that
Yeah.
Did you
about
find
2
it?
weeks ago.
I
Yeah.
just found a lawn care document that has mowing and types of grasses, fertilizing and care.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
I think it just takes deciphering some of the information and putting it out on, and, bulletproof, bullet pointing some of those things so that it's, for the starter, these are the things that you can do to start. And if you're that far in, here are some more things, that you can, for the next step for the person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really like the idea of putting it together and putting it in the our Niskayuna.
Me too. I mean, Anastasia, if you don't mind, they'd probably take a picture of you and put it on the front.
Yeah.
And then it would say okay, here's what to do with your leaves.
I don't mind. I'm not an expert by any stretch, though.
You don't have to be.
But I'll do it for the cause.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Try it.
No, that's great. That's a great idea.
So I just wonder, I'm just trying to think, we have an enormous amount of trees, and we have them, they fall from. I have a late dropping oak that falls all the way to Christmas. So I don't know what your trees are like, and if you have some early drop ones, but maybe we could. Put the article together and then, see, maybe actually get a picture of you, in, it done in action. So what it looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
I think that would, that I think would entice the, would help the Gazette. We can ask them if, this is what we were thinking of, this is what we'd like to promote, or, how about an article like this? We have somebody that's up for, I don't know. It's whatever. What does everybody else think?
Demonstrating.
No, that would be a really good thing to do, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I have a bunch of silver maples, and they're pretty messy year round, pretty much. So, yeah. I'm
The
happy
other
to
thing
do it.
I'm wondering out loud is the town collects a lot of leaves, and I know that they compost them and it goes to a contractor.
Mhm.
Is that they contract that out?
Yeah, they
I'm
do.
wondering if we looked into possibly allowing residents to take some of that soil. Or how does that work, Laura? Do you know how that is? Is there a
Yeah, so the thing is they don't actually compost it at Blatnick. They
Oh,
bring
okay.
leaves to Blatnick and they pile them, and then when the leaf piles get pretty high, that guy, there's a contractor, and I believe he's from Rensselaer, he comes and hauls them away and he composts them in Rensselaer.
Oh, I thought we composted them here.
There. No, I mean the piles are there and they turn over. And I think there's like a small pile that Highway uses for its own benefit, but the large piles and a large number of the leaves are hauled away. And there's a Girl Scout right now who's looking into trying to get a composting program going at Blatnick Park. And her preference would be obviously to use the leaves that we already pick up as like, the greens, and then you could mix in or browns, whatever they are. And then you can mix in the stuff the other stuff that you need to compost. But it does require a permit with DEC in order to do that. So it's not, I mean, it's definitely doable, and she's working on it and she's trying to meet with the right department heads and stuff. But it's not like you can just, you do need a permit.
Yeah.
We might have to start collecting kitchen waste then.
Yeah, the kitchen waste. I mean, you might not need it for the leaves, but what she's trying to do is mix the leaves with the kitchen waste and all that stuff.
Yeah, because compost, you usually think about like coffee grinds and
tea
leaves and.
Did anybody else want to speak for the privilege of the floor? Or?
Oh, thank you all for listening.
Doc, my wife wanted to speak. I'm going to quickly call her.
Okay, sure.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I totally agree with that discussion before about the lawns. I think a lot of people don't realize they're throwing away such a valuable organic resource. And basically, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your work on
Kids, keep it quiet.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Jenny, we cannot hear you.
They said they can't hear me.
Wait, it's not muted.
I know. Well, maybe this is the microphone. Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay. I just wanted to tell you guys thank you so much for the pesticide-free pledge thing that you're working on. Ashok told me a little bit about it, and it's something I've cared about for so long. I mean, raising kids and being a stay-at-home mom, and cars go past and you can't tell your kid to get off the side of the road, and you can smell it, and there's just so many things. Once they came and sprayed our yard, and we eat out of our yard and lay in our yard and do all sorts of stuff in our yard. So I think it's so cool. I love the idea of the yellow flags. And I've been, we went to the town board, my neighbor and my kids when they were babies, and I just to talk about it, but I've never done anything. And I'm so glad. I think your thing is really going to make a difference if you get people to put those yellow signs. I mean, that kind of positive peer pressure, I think, is a great idea. And it sounds like you're doing the background work to collecting those resources, letting people know that throwing away their leaves, like they're losing out on this great organic material that their plants produce every year, and they're giving it away instead of mulching it in place. I think these tips are a great idea. And my husband produced me a little sheet that cited some scientific research that we know about. I mean, it gives cancer to the people who, the kids of the people who apply these chemicals. It poisons our pet. It poisons our wildlife. It poisons all the creatures. He just put together a little fact sheet for me, and I just went to some of our neighbors and I wrote a little personal letter, and then I brought that sheet that Ashok put together that has some references. Now, who knows who people believe in science these days. But anyway, I went to several neighbors and got some really positive responses. One neighbor said, my husband cancer actually recently, she said, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought, he can't do the yard work this year, but I already called to cancel. Like, I can't afford to, have this on behalf of my family and my pet, and stuff like that. So, And then another neighbor also responded very positively. And I've only gone to a handful of people because I sort of wrote them a personal letter. These are mostly folks we know that we've seen the yellow flags, and it drives us crazy every year. But we like these people. And so I don't know, that's like a little personal way where we're trying to make a difference with just a few people. But I think your campaign is great. And I'm just starting a new job as a nurse and adjusting to that. But I'd really like to help and be part of your effort. I don't know if you're sort of launching it this spring or what, but I would love to go around and bring flyers or talk to people or help in whatever way. So, but thanks so much for actually doing something about this. And I think it's like kind of low hanging fruit. There's probably a lot of people who'd be willing to say, oh my gosh, I'm killing all these things when I'm ruining the water and the air and the insects and the pollinators and the pets and the kids. And, there's so many reasons not to do it. And I think if people just, we present it like it's a viable option to put these poisons on our yards. And if we can just look at it from the other point of view, I think there's probably a lot of people that agree with us that, they'd realize it's crazy. At least that's how I feel. So thank you so much for your great work. And I'll stay in tune with Ashok and hope to join you in whatever little way I can.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Privilege of the floor.
I gotta
Okay,
sign off, so thanks for listening.
Okay, no, thank you for participating. You had great ideas. Okay, we have no environmental assessment referrals this month. So let's just move straight to the discussion item, which is the biodiversity initiative and the pesticide outreach.
Okay, so two kind of, it's a little bit segmented, and but I put it in as one agenda item. But there's two things really going on. The biodiversity initiative we've been working on. Ashok drafted a letter to the residents. To Deputy Town Attorney looked at it and wanted it to be a little more specific. And then we wanted to make sure that they knew that through this initiative they weren't going to lose any of the benefits that they have right now living next to the park, which is mainly the walking, being able to walk over to the wherever they want to recreate. So so I don't know if you guys, I know I sent it out late. If you had a chance to look at the letter, we looked at it at the highway committee this morning, and they were pretty happy with it. But one of the things that I was thinking that we could add in there was kind of like the biodiversity initiative, like FAQ or whatever, links that we can share with people that are really good further reading for why you want to have longer grass. Although, like, it's just interesting because I Googled it to just try and put like obvious links in there, and it's not, there isn't like a Google link out there that's like higher grass is good for bugs. So like we need to find, I think, a couple that are really good in there, or do the FAQs. And then I'll just share my screen really quickly. Hold on. This is the updated version of the map. This is the area that we talked about. And when we looked at this for highway committee this morning, they liked it. This is definitely, I mean, they're on board right now. They're happy. But like we're noting that we're going to put these signs at various intervals along this path so that anybody who's walking, can see what's going on. And it's also kind of like a boundary of the area that we're not mowing, but they would want them to be really attractive. And so they actually asked that we could also include like a draft of what the sign would look like. Mm-hmm. So they want us to put the letter that says, this is what we're thinking. We want your input, and the CAC is going to come out and talk to you, over the course of the next couple of weeks about it if you're comfortable. Put the map, and then put a copy of what a draft sign would look like. And we talked about maybe they could be metal, or I wrote down it, although it may actually be in my office, like carbon something or other, just to make them look very, professional and inviting, and so that it really looks like something is special is going on there, is what the idea was for that. And then the other, and so we can talk about that first. And then the other second half part of the attachments in the packet is really all the work that Ellen's been doing that we can talk about. But the first part is the LOMO habitat initiative that we're doing.
Laura, I made a little, it's part of your packet. I made a little FAQ, like I said, like introducing the Niskayuna Biodiversity Initiative and what is biodiversity, why is it important, and so the information that I found most helpful was from National Geographic, and this other organization, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on the Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. So that is like the equivalent to the UN body on climate change. I think it's called the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So what we so I just wanted to know what people thought about the little FAQs that I put together.
So I like them, but when I was discussing with the town attorney, her concern was that biodiversity is a really broad and general term, and she really wants people to be engaged at the community level. This certainly is a biodiversity initiative. Like the point of it is to increase, habitat for bugs. But her point was that, if you bring it up into a global scale, you kind of lose the local connection that people are trying to make with what's going on, which is why she wanted to kind of swap out the word biodiversity for like something that's a little bit more specific. It could still be tied into biodiversity, but like this would just be one piece of a biodiversity initiative. And this piece is like a LOMO, pollinator kind of habitat type of initiative that, as the town starts moving forward, they all come together to increase biodiversity in our small little tiny part of the world. But so those links on there, I think they're global kind of links. And I think that making it a little more specific to not just what is biodiversity, but why is the lawn not being mowed is more helpful.
Okay. I think the answer to that is like habitat restoration and habitat for birds and insects, and we can frame it in terms of habitat restoration, which is an important part of biodiversity. But biodiversity is actually bigger than habitat restoration. And, like things like pesticides and reducing them also promote biodiversity, but they are distinct from habitat restoration. And habitat restoration is often done at the local level.
Yeah.
Like even a person not having a pollinator garden in their front yard, they are contributing to habitat restoration.
So if we sort of took these points here and maybe started broad, with a definition of, let's say, what biodiversity was, and then just tie it back to what we're trying to do in the town, right? I mean, I think it's good to say that you're part of a bigger system, but I think we got to really tie it into the town more. That was my.
Yeah, and like, what is it about? Like, we keep saying mow your lawn longer, and there's a lot of reasons for that, right? It's good for soil and better for bugs and stuff like that. But if there's like a good resource out there that like, really shows short grass, like there's like really nothing short grass and then whatever, and then it has a graphic with a little bit of longer grass and then a little bit more diverse grass, that with bugs in it or whatever, like showing like the difference in maintaining a little strip of like, whatever you call it, like if you buzz cut something versus, this, much more diverse in length and height and stuff like that meadow.
Laura, if I'm understanding you right, like you want to drill down and really specifically answer the question, what is the benefit of tall grass over short grass? What is the benefit of a meadow over short grass?
Yeah, because the short grass is there now and we're putting the long grass. So
Yeah.
we have to explain to people that.
Okay.
I mean, it may be
I got
just
it.
to encourage diversity of grassland birds. I mean, that is probably a good reason for doing it, you know, and I think tying it to the pollinators, I think is good.
Okay. You know, there's this great book I'm reading. It's called Nature's Best Hope. It's written by this ecologist called Doug Tallamy. He talks a lot about that in his book. And there are references to, you know, literature and whatnot. I know the answer out there exists. I just don't have it in the back of my head right now.
This is Roy Thornton. May I make a comment?
Please.
Yep.
I have started to put together a list of information, which I was planning on sending to Ashok. It includes Ernst Seeds that gives you sources of seed mixes, the Xerces Society, which talks about pollinator conservation, endangered species, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Five Rivers. They have 3 17-acre plots that they mow in rotation for grassland birds. Cornell Cooperative Extension has gardening with native plants. Audubon Society of the Capital Region, they helped in the previous round of work with the town to get areas set aside, including signs and a couple of summer courses. There's an EPA fact sheet on revegetating landfills, which talks about the kinds of plants that capped landfills need. There's a Wildlife Habitat Council, which will certify programs for wildlife habitat and will do consulting. The Audubon New York has a thing on managing habitat for grassland birds. And then I have a couple of cuts from a couple of documents on mowing, how to, when to mow and how to mow. So if you'd like
So that
me
sounds, yeah, like,
that's excellent.
Can you email that? Can you copy me and Dart on that? And then we can make sure that the rest of the board gets all those links too. And then we can review them and include some of them into the letter and the explanation.
Okay, that's you and who else?
Dart, the chairman.
Okay.
And
Dart.
I'd like to get it too, please.
Okay, I'm not sure I've got Dart's email.
You can just send it to Ashok and me, and I'll forward it on to everybody. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I was glad to hear that the town is amenable to setting aside that strip by the driving range. Do you know if that's fait accompli or is it still being discussed?
I think that area is good to go. They want us to do the outreach to They want us to do the outreach to the residents. That's very important. What they don't want is to roll out the initiative without communicating to the people who live next door to it, and even like anybody in town, you know, and then just have that kind of blindsiding people. So they want a lot of public outreach on it, but they're definitely okay with that area. So the area is good to go. Now we need to do the public outreach.
Great.
So, you know, just so that things move along, you know, like, can we assign somebody to take the pen on the letter and you know, with all the discussion going on today, you know, like it's this person's responsibility to make sure that the letter gets done. I'm happy to do it. But I also don't want to, you know, jump in if other people want to do it.
I mean, you've been doing it, Ashok. If
Yeah.
you don't mind, like maybe we can take the next revision from the packet and then add in the stuff that Roy's talking about, and then we can do more revisions. And the deputy town attorney just likes this because it's part of her degree, and she used to live over there, so she's happy to help too. So we can get it to the point where it can be approved to go out.
Okay, Roy, why don't you send me and Laura the web links, and then I'll take a pass at editing it, and then we'll go from there.
Got it.
Now, the building department wanted signage. Laura, do you have any ideas of where we would get the signage or what that would look like?
Yeah, what I was talking about this morning is like if you go to the EV charging stations at Town Hall right now, they have these little, I don't know, they're probably like 9-inch by 14-inch metal signs on posts, and it just says no overnight parking, 4-hour limit or something. But like I think they were like $30 actually all told, or the highway department has those little poles, and then you have like nice metal signs that people can't pick up and steal. That can go behind that split rail fence. And, like they don't have to be boring. Like you could put a picture of a butterfly on them or a bird, because it actually sounds like potentially it's more tied into birds, which is cool, so that you could put the birds on there, and then it could say, low mo habitat, and then have a link to a website so that people could go and take a look at what was going on. Something like that. And you just put them periodically along to kind of frame what was going on with that area. But he said that carbon signs were also like, because originally I was thinking that we could just do like, kind of political like size signs that you pound into the ground, because we've done that in some other places, and that's what we're talking about with our with Ellen's beautiful thing that she made. But if we're talking about kind of a permanent area that we're not mowing and we want it to look as absolutely nice as we possibly can, then I think like the metal poles with the metal signs or carbon is probably a better idea.
So, can I jump in for a second? So I know that I mean, in looking through all the signage that I did for the pesticide free, I came across lovely signs either done by other municipalities. I just actually sent you, I was on a walk, Laura, and I just emailed you a picture that is by the Anley Pond Heritage Preserve over by the Albany Airport. I mean, that's a gigantic sign done by the Albany County, but those little signs that I must have seen a million of them, and you can easily get them for the exact size that you're looking for. And then I don't know who prints your signs or whatever, but I do. I had reached out to both Knott Street, and also to Image 360 Schenectady, that does signage. So I don't know if the town already has somebody that does those signs or not, but I saw tons of them, and there were some really, really nice ones. So I would be, I don't know, I mean, I can, like forward you a bunch of them, but it was pretty easy to see. I was just wondering, anyways, yeah. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have to necessarily do the work. Like that sign's nice. But yeah, I was thinking more of the little
yeah, I know.
No parking signs.
Yeah, I know exactly what size you're looking for, and I saw like a really nice one. I'll see if I can't find it while we're talking about other things, and forward it to you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need a sign that looks good, conveys the message, but is not overbearing, because I think if residents saw a huge sign, they might be put off a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, this one is like, this is only one sign, and it's done like in this one that I sent. It's just a big, huge sign that they did. But I was like, oh, this is like one of the first ones I've seen close in our area,
Yeah.
I mean, and I know they've done them, in Clifton Park as well. And my husband is a water resource guy, so they have them in lots of things, lots of areas where he works. So
So you know what the cool thing about that sign is?
Sorry,
go ahead. The cool thing about that sign is it actually says the Albany Department of Public Works or something on that. That's cool. That means that they have buy-in, you know, across departments for that sign.
Yeah, I mean, Laura, if you wanted to put it like on the driving range side, I think that would be really a good educational thing, a big one.
Oh, like a bigger one? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have photos of a bobolink and a monarch butterfly that I could supply to, say, put in the corners of the sign.
Oh yeah, that would be cool too.
Are
For
there
sure.
actual local Niskayuna bobolinks and butterflies, Roy?
Well, the bobolink is. I'm not sure where I got the monarch.
Well, that's something, you know, to say, you know, this creature is actually one of our neighbors, you know.
Was anyway.
Yeah, Niskayuna has a history back in, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where in the landfill there were nesting sites for bobolinks, and they were, I believe the town put signs up, and they were, you know, they were fencing off or somehow preventing people from entering where the nesting sites were, and it was in the landfill cap area of over there, you know, by the town landfill, and they had been discovered, and so it was like this, you know, initiative to protect the nesting sites for the bobolinks. So it's kind of that same idea where you're trying to promote the grassland species, because there are just, like, you know, just not every bird will nest wherever. You know, there's some species that will just nest in the low growing grassy areas, and then you get, you know, of course you get the insects and everything like that, but you know, I think you do have to target it for those types of species. So that's the kind of thing we have to kind of zero in on, like the town attorney was saying, you know, not just like a broad biodiversity initiative, you know, make it more specific to, you know, that those certain species or that certain type of biodiversity, I guess. So.
I have a copy of that sign. It was done in cooperation with the Audubon Society of the Capital Region. I don't know who paid for it. I think the town paid for it, and it may be the highway department's source for signs is where they obtained it. There's a couple of those out there in a small area that turns out to have been probably adequate for pollinators, but too small for grassland birds. If you go across a small landfill beside where the highway department platform is with all of the dirt and mulch and so on, and you wind your way through the woods into the little field that's back there, one of those signs is still standing on the edge of that field.
Yeah, it's we actually order our signs from the jail. Isn't that interesting? They make them in the prison somewhere in New York, but
well, it sounds like it sounds like a lot of the work has been done. We just have to locate it and, you know, perhaps, you know, reward it and go from there, especially if it has, you know, native species on it and stuff like that. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
It needs to be enhanced, I think, with the pollinators, because I think they're as important as the grassland birds, or maybe more so right now.
Yeah, we could do that, I think.
Can we have like a brief discussion on timing? You know, like this is September, next month is October. and we all know what comes next. So, and I like the letter that that Laura sent. You know, it has a town letterhead. It says Conservation Advisory Council on it, and you know, I completely agree that the local aspect needs to be included, and we need to answer the question: why is tall grass better than shorter grass? But at least in my opinion, that's a solvable problem, and most of the letter is already there. And you know, we are talking about door-to-door outreach and speaking to people, which is a great idea, but the clock is kind of ticking on it. So can we say that like we'll shoot for door-to-door outreach by end of September or beginning of October? I think it's doable, given that the letter is mostly there.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the intent. Like the highway committee looked at it this morning, and I don't think it needs to go back to any other committees. Like if you guys are generally okay with the the framework of it, which it seems like you guys are, then it's really just adding in those links and kind of finalizing that, and then it would just be like an email saying here's the final, we're about to send it out, are you guys all okay? And then we would schedule stuff for, like you said, like late September, early October, to be walking around and just doing some outreach. The only thing is, I think that's totally doable for that initiative. The one thing is, when we're doing the signs, I do think that if we can have a website on the signs where people can go, it's going to have maybe the letter or all the information we're putting in the letter would be really helpful. And I am not like a guru, and Steve Signell left us. But so I think actually the biggest hurdle is getting the website to a point where we could put a web link or some way to direct people to a place that's going to have all this information for them, so that there's just a constant like touchstone with the public on where all this information is.
Can you do one of those Q reader things, that you read with your phone?
Yeah, that you could do that instead of spelling out the website. Yeah,
or do both.
You could just use the QR code, and then it wouldn't maybe not be beautiful, but we could have all the information and the links on our CAC page for now. Yeah.
What are we going to do door to door? Are we taking the letter, or are we? What is happening there?
Well, the letter is just kind of here's what the town's thinking, and then it would let people know that the CAC is going out because you guys you're gonna have your badges and stuff, but I feel like it's always a good idea to give people a heads up that there's gonna be people in the neighborhood, because sometimes freaks people out. But I think that really just along Catherine's Woods, we'd probably knock on all the doors and just be like, hey, we're doing this. Do you have any questions? On it? Are you excited about it? And then just have the conversation with definitely those people. I don't think we need to do that town-wide, but just the people who are like directly adjacent to the property.
Okay.
So Laura, I'm trying to get the sequence right here. Would we send this letter out and then go talk to the residents?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
And Laura,
now,
I think the
website out, would we have to get a picture of a sign that we put out?
So that was what the highway committee wanted today. They wanted to have a draft sign that we would put up. It doesn't have to be the final sign, to give people an idea of what it's going to look like, just so that it's a little, just so that the project is like, as fully formed as it can get when we're doing the outreach. Yeah.
So I guess the next task that we need to do is find the sign that's appropriate.
Yeah, Ellen
said design of a sign.
The sign that you just shared on the screen, Laura, that looked pretty simple, and at least for me, it was okay.
Yeah, I like the words on it, but we might even be able to go more simple. Ellen, I don't have the email from you yet. Did it definitely?
Oh, okay. All right, I will.
Because your first one came through, but the second one still hasn't arrived, unless maybe it has too many pictures and they got stuck in my filter.
Oh, it does have a couple of them. Hold on, let me just make sure.
And then
But
I'm just wondering about the outreach some more. So do we just like is there a certain time when people like on this
Yeah, we
committee like volunteer to go out and leave
Yes,
something in people's?
Yeah, Tree Council does this all the time. I know you guys don't do it as much, but we just set a time. Like we send out an email and say like, okay, we're gonna be out there at like 6 p.m. on Friday and 10 a.m. on Saturday. Like anybody who can come, and we'll take one side of the street on Friday night and the other side of the street on Saturday morning, and then whoever can come comes, and then they just kind of walk around the neighborhood with with pieces of paper that have information on them and with their badges and make a presence and try and invite people to come out and talk.
Hey, Laura, I'm wondering, just given where we are in the pandemic, would it be better if we said we were going to be at the neighborhood at a given time and basically go to this area and have people come out, or we could give people a heads up? Because I know like some people are very comfortable with people coming to their door.
But some people aren't.
Other people are like totally not happy about that at all.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason that we put in the letter, but I think that's a good idea. The town board definitely wanted us to do that person-to-person outreach, but if we say we'll be in the neighborhood on 6 p.m. at Friday, like in the area of the park, please come out and talk to us, and we have another date too, we can set that ahead of time and put it in the letter, and that way people are coming out of their houses, we're not going up to their doors, and it's at their own comfort level and they know that it's outside.
Yeah.
How much longer is the farmer's market going to be at Town Hall? That might be a good place to set up a table with information.
And they talked about that this morning. I can remember. They had said that they've gotten a lot of requests to extend it, but they're not able to this year because of like just COVID and just logistics and stuff. So whatever the initial end date was, is still the initial end date, but I don't know what it was.
Okay.
There's still a sign on that saying farmers market this Saturday.
I think it's still, it goes into September. I thought the 19th, but.
Because the police are going to be there this Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going back to the timing of it, I think the letter is definitely doable in the month, and we can have it finalized before September. The website, I think, is a different matter. To say that a fully functional website should be ready by September, I think that's a bigger ask. So I'm wondering if it's okay to, move things along a little bit and start. Like we haven't discussed anything about like what goes on in the website and making a proper web page that's facing the public, that not just people from Niskayuna see, but everyone sees. That's like a whole another matter. So would it be okay if we did the letter and the personal outreach first and tackle the website, maybe in the winter when we have more time?
Yes.
The websites listed on the bobolink posters that are up there now are one for the ASCR, Audubon Society of Capital Region, and one for the town. And I haven't clicked on them to know exactly where into the town website it goes. But if you could piggyback on or use an existing website, then you wouldn't have to have a webmaster to keep it up.
Yeah, it's probably, I haven't seen the sign, but it probably just says www.niskayuna.org, which is our main webpage. And probably the benefit of that is that sometimes even the person who's doing our webpage changes, but we always have that domain. Maybe that's the one that we'll put on there anyway. Maybe we could put some kind of a green link on the main screen that says CAC or LOMO or something for a long time while we start this initiative. Like we could have it on the main page.
I think it's okay. It's possible. Like again, forgive me for keep bringing up the issue of timing. I think it's possible to have like a paragraph on the town's webpage done, but if we are talking about an extensive webpage talking about habitat restoration, local plants, local birds, that's a big deal. It is not going to be done by September. And I'd really like something to happen, before snow comes and everything gets shelved and we move on to next year. So is it okay if we have like a paragraph on the website, on the main niskayuna.org website, like no more than a simple general paragraph? But then again, if it's just a simple general paragraph with not much detail, then what's the point of even putting a website in there? Speaking as an engineer, like sometimes like people want to have websites because that's what everyone does, and it's not always necessary.
Yeah, I think that it's doable to do a paragraph with some links. I think a bigger than that would be hard for me, but I can definitely add a paragraph with some links. I have that capability.
Yeah, I
Do you
mean, if
have
we can
edit
just,
access, Laura? You have edit access to the website?
I do. Yep.
Okay, great. So we can we can do a little blurb with a few links, and then like not be over ambitious about the website.
Yeah. And this is the size that we were talking about. So ours is a little bit kind of different because we're not really doing runoff related, although it's never a bad idea to do runoff related things. But we could change these words, but like you say, that's very simple. It's got the long grass with the butterflies, and then down here you could have the town of Niskayuna, CAC, whoever, highway department, whatever, and then the little QR code with the town's website. I think it works.
Yeah, do we already have that QR code with the town's website?
Oops, sorry, what was the question?
Do we have a QR code with the town's website already generated?
I don't know, but we have them for I don't know if you guys have ever done the Canalway Byway, the Erie Canal Towpath Byway. It's a group of like 5 volunteers. And they're not super technologically savvy, and they were able to make QR codes for their signs. So I love them. If they can do it, we can do it.
Okay, fair enough. Again, like keeping timing in mind, like is it possible for the CAC to agree on the text of the letter before the meeting in October? Because I'm a tad concerned that like the October meeting will be, chickens. So if we can, is it possible to have emails and agree on the text of the letter, and maybe in the October meeting we can just decide like, okay, the letters are sent, and then this is the schedule for in-person outreach.
I mean, personally, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that proposal. We do need someone to work on the sign and the verbiage.
What did you say, Doc?
Is somebody trying to speak, or?
Sorry, that was probably my dad in the back of my.
Oh, no.
So as far as the sign goes, I can look to, I can go and, so the one thing is I'm not up to date on the natural birds and habitat that we want to to include on this, but if somebody tells me what they are, I can put together a sign. I can put together, pictures of it. If we have something older that already exists and we just need to clean that up, I can try my hand at it. I am by no means a professional at all, but I could give it a shot and send it out similar to what I did for the last one. That's what I can do.
Yeah, so I think that's perfect. I mean, I think that the bones of the letter are there. I'm not really hearing any objections to them. So I think we can finish it up by email unless anybody objects. And then Ellen can work with Ashok and Dart and me on the sign. And then I think that you do still have to run the letter past like Yasmin before it goes out. But, it's been past the highway committee. We can talk about it at economic development on Friday just so that everybody's on the same page. And then it's just finalizing the text, finalizing the links, and finalizing a draft of the sign. That's all really that has to be done on that. And then we can add a paragraph to the town's website, which isn't going to be like amazing, but it'll work. And then we can get there. And like Dart said, maybe, so the one thing we might still have to do by email is pick days at the end of September that we can be out there to meet people. Like, I think at least 2, like probably 1 week night and 1 weekend morning.
Yeah.
And I will send a copy of the old bobolink poster, and I've got a picture of a bobolink, a northern harrier, which is also an endangered grassland species, a bumblebee, and a monarch butterfly. And I think if we don't use it for commercial purposes, there shouldn't be any copyright issues with that. And I can send those 4 photographs. And if you look at the front page of the presentation that I made to the CAC, it shows those four photographs.
And Roy, you also said that like you have some information on grasslands and habitats and things like that also that you're going to send to us, right?
Yes, to you and Laura.
Okay, all right. And then I will work on editing the letter. And then Ellen, I do have some experience with graphic design. In my spare time, I play with Adobe Illustrator. So any help that I can give with the sign making, I'm happy to provide.
Okay. I mean, you're welcome to do it. I'm, I don't.
We'll get there. So in the interest of everyone's time, should we move on to the next part?
Yeah, I was going to
sure.
Why don't we, so the pesticide outreach?
Yeah, so the pesticide outreach, Ellen worked really hard on the sign. We went back and forth a little bit. I'll just share my screen again. I really like it. Did you guys get a chance in your packets to look at it?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
The only thing I was wondering is if potentially it's pesticide free, all living creatures welcome. I think this is perfect, but I was wondering if maybe we should put, want one in your yard, visit, blah, 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 just so that people would see it and know that they could get one if they wanted to do it, like just a place to point them. I don't know. And then this is just Linda. She was thinking that we could turn the logo yellow and put the logo inside the sun. The Town of Niskayuna logo would be the sun shining.
I was thinking about doing that. I just didn't know if it was possible. I can't, if she can do that, I can, send her something, or I don't know, if she sends it to me, I can add it to the picture.
I actually like,
I
like the heart in there in the sun. It's sort of subliminal.
I did too.
I did as well.
But I think the idea of like, if people see it and they want it, okay, I don't have my glasses on now, but is there something? Yeah, there should be something that says Niskayuna on it, right? Yeah, it says town of Niskayuna.
It says the town of Niskayuna, but it doesn't say, like, only because I didn't know where to send them, and I didn't want to put a website on there, and it was there was a bunch of other things I wasn't sure about.
What you might want to do in the bottom is like join your pesticide-free neighbors, and then just give the website.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And on the website, it'll have this application so people can then complete the application and then get their own. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So yeah, at the bottom, but we need to create that, so that was my other thing. I didn't want to start putting things on us that we couldn't do. So I'd be happy to add the what's at the bottom of that the pesticide pledge and put that on the bottom.
So cute. I love it. I love the grass and the birds and kids. This is what we were talking about with that other sign. And the graphic is conveying the message. And I feel like all it needs to say is pesticide free, all living creatures welcome. I think that's great. And then we just need one more line that says, like Dart said, want to join us.
I would just recommend that the text of like the font and everything is bigger, because if you're seeing this, from the street and someone has it on their lawn, right? You don't want them to be like squinting at, it just seems like the font is very small.
So you could actually do that pretty easily because you have all this space. You could take the text here and actually just have it so big and go pesticide free and have pesticide free fill up all of this space. And then you could have all living creatures welcome, and then you could have the website down here.
Okay, I can try to do that. The other thing too is that this sign is small. Like this is like a round little, I think I sent you what I wanted it to look like, because I didn't want it to be as big as the things are that, that people are putting out for, politics and everything like this. And I didn't want it to be so like people could have put it at the corner of the yard and it not to be this like huge thing, but if people see it, then hopefully they'll be inquisitive enough to ask. So, but
so then my suggestion would just be to choose a font that is easier to bolder, easier to read. Is that what you were thinking, Amanda? Even if it's just bigger, if it can't be bigger, at least choose something that's a little bit more readable from a distance.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I know you don't want to be like a political sign, but they do have that ability that you can see the wording from quite a ways away, and you don't have to like get up close to it. And you don't, if someone puts it in the corner of their lawn, they're not going to bother. People are not really going to, in reality, bother to walk over and look at someone's sign on their lawn. I think it's got to be very visible from the street, easily readable.
Well, I think the graphic actually, it's kind of interesting because I think the graphic you can see from far away. So if somebody knows what the sign is, they'll know you're pesticide free. So I'm wondering, there's a lot of signs out, but I think if we increase the text higher but keep the sign small, I think if they start popping up in neighborhoods, people are going to notice them.
Yeah, it's almost like a branding. I like the smaller signs too, but I think that we should make pesticide free larger and easier to read.
Yeah, I think I can do that. I think that's that shouldn't be a problem because the space is there. So I will fix it and then I'll send it back out. And then the other thing is I'm waiting for just to hear back from the other people about actually getting the sign. So
I really like it, and thank you, Ellen, for all that work.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was all the other pages in the packet were the things that Ellen had found in support of the Pesticide Free Neighborhood Initiative. And I really, really, really like the one that starts with the ladybug, the pesticide free zone ladybug. It's just got so many cool things. It looks like it's supposed to be a pamphlet. but you know, I agree with you guys about breaking it down into bite-sized pieces so we're not overwhelming everybody with everything. But I'd like to take this kind of information and maybe carve pages out of it here and there, and like do email blasts, you know, every once in a while with some of this information, because we talked about this before. Like, I like that healthy lawn checklist. That, oops, let me just pull this out.
Yeah, the cooperative,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I feel like that might just be something, you know, that we can do in, I don't know, February, is send everybody a healthy lawn checklist with some pretty pictures, you know, so that we're constantly reminding people that there's things that they can do, because their lawns actually have such a huge impact on the world. You don't actually know, but collectively lawns are like just a huge issue.
Yeah, there was that one statistic with all the acres.
Yeah.
In New York
it's
State.
Crazy.
I was wondering if we could do that for Niskayuna too. Sort of estimate that. We know the land mass, right?
And I feel like a story in the Gazette would be really nice about this, you know, when we start doing this.
Okay, so I'm willing to, you know, start parceling out, you know, some of these facts, and, you know, and trying to, you know, break it down into, like, you know, I was thinking it would be sort of along the same lines as the other link, like, you know what I mean? But it can be you know, too daunting, you know, to try to do it all at once. And I really like the smaller bits of it. And, you know, even if we just, you know, my initial thought was to break it down by month, to break your lawn basically down by the 12 months, and to put everything into each, you know, and to divide it into like each month, and what you should be doing for your lawn along those lines. And then maybe just like an overview of, you know, healthy lawns, and, you know, Niski facts about your lawn, you know, if you want it. So for, you know, what Dart was talking about, the lawns and just, you know, habitat in general. But the other part, I was thinking of just breaking it down, you know, month by month.
Which I think would be great. Like, you could do irrigation in the summer. So like when we're doing a don't water your lawn advisory because we're in a major drought, like we could be like, just remember, you really don't need that much water as long as you're not, you know, keeping your lawn longer or whatever. It can all fold in together with everything that we do.
And I was thinking that even in like, you know, February, we could be like, start to, you know, build your rain gardens, like start to build your, you know, to catch your runoff from your, you know, from your rain or whatever, so that, you know, people would still have things to do. So that is sort of my plan of how I was gonna, like, you know, progress forward. But I mean, I definitely don't want to do it all by myself. So, you know.
The other thing we need to decide was, you mentioned about the pledge. You're concerned you're signing us up for things that we don't want to sign up for. So we should probably go through that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, thanks, you know, for the people that responded back to me, I took and I, you know, organized it. So, I mean, if you guys want to read it and look at it and decide if that's what you want, then I'm good with that.
Ellen, I'd like to caution one more time about the website, because right now, if you click on the pledge online, the link, you know, it's obviously a broken link. But to put this on the website, you know, this is actually collecting people's names and email addresses, and they check a box, and there's like some kind of submit button on the website. And when you click the submit button, it goes into a database. You know, that's a lot of website development right there. Now we can skip the town website, and it's simple enough to create a Google form with all of this. But if you want it to be part of the town website, then somebody somewhere has some work to do. So
it doesn't have to be. It's just a PDF. You would just go to that website and download the PDF. Yeah.
Well, it says like, you know, pesticide. Oh, okay. Then I misunderstood. So you're not filling the form online. You're just downloading the PDF online.
Yeah, you would just download the PDF. That's the extent of our capabilities. That link would bring you to the PDF. And then if you were able to fill it out electronically, good for you. Otherwise, you'd have to bring in the paper copy.
Plus they'd have to come in to get the sign anyway, because I don't think the town wants to send out the signs. Or would we? Or
Yeah, I think probably we'd want them to come pick them up. Most people are pretty used to coming and picking stuff up at town hall. I think that it's a fairly regular stop for people who live in the town.
yeah.
Ellen, in that case, like I would like change the wording slightly to from going from pledge online to download the PDF, download the PDF online or something like that. Also, I also wanted to know, like, what's the time frame on this? Like, this season is coming to an end, but I don't think it's too late to do it this season. Especially with COVID and all that. Like, who knows what's going to happen next year? If we can get it out this year, I think I would support that.
So I guess the question is do we send out the hashtag hashtag pledge without the sign? So I mean, because I'm just waiting to hear back if they have the signs, and if they, you know what I mean, and to make them and that sort of thing. So that's sort of where we're at. So yeah.
Well, for this initiative, it has to be adopted by the town board. We were talking. So, like, if it's close enough now that I think we could bring it to Dart. You're going to be there on Friday morning. Like, we could bring it to HBEC on Friday morning, and then if they're happy with it, they could recommend that the town board adopt the pledge, at the end of September, and then so we couldn't post anything or move forward with it until the town board adopted it, because it also technically, like, they just have to understand that there is a small cost, which we've talked about before, to ordering the signs. So they would adopt the pesticide-free pledge and order the signs. And I think that would be the time that you would get a newspaper article on it, because it would be a town board action, which the newspaper typically covers what the town board is doing. And then you would put it out there, and then people could be, signing it, it would be out there. But then you'd probably want to push it again in the spring, because most people aren't really doing anything in the winter. But I think we could have it adopted and order all the signs this year, which is a good time to order it, because we know where our budget's at, and if we have the money for it. Like in the spring, sometimes you're a little conservative. In the fall and early winter, sometimes you have a little bit extra, so you can buy the signs. So I would think that getting the town board to adopt it and buying the signs are the two really important steps for 2020. And then once the program is in and we have the signs, then we would push it in the spring when people start mowing again.
Yeah,
that sounds lovely.
Good. And everybody is good with the pledge and stuff, and the commitments we're making here. They're not great, but
I'm just putting out there that I don't understand how hashtags work at all. But if everybody's comfortable with hashtags and they think we should put one on there, then I'm fine. I just do not understand where it goes, what it does, what it means.
So I as well, I mean, I think that's what I said when I sent it for everyone to look at. But the sheriff said that this is one that is used more often. So I didn't know if I'd be happy to take it off there, or we can leave it on there. But my kids say that that younger people use it, and that we should leave it on there, because it's not hurting anybody.
About it, but we can.
So my daughter said that we would post, like when we did ours, like, that when we put our sign up, we would post a hashtag. And she goes, what happens is then it draws attention to your town. That's all.
Okay.
So
we don't
maintain on the map.
So we don't maintain it. It's out there already. We're just connecting ourselves to it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
And who's the sponsor of that? Do you know?
Well, each social media network has their own hashtag ecosystem. Like Facebook hashtags are different from Instagram hashtags, and they're different from Twitter hashtags. So like if you talk about Twitter, and if you post your photograph on Twitter, then the hashtags are maintained by Twitter. So, so if you say a hashtag pesticide free, then what happens is when somebody clicks on hashtag pesticide free from Oregon, say, then it will bring up all the posts tagged with hashtag pesticide free from all over the country, like Oregon and Arizona and whoever else is doing it. So it's just a way for our little effort to be connected to the global effort.
Yeah, no, my concern was just basically, are there privacy issues or are there other, um, like, Facebook at one time posted this app that basically everybody took a picture of their face and they could see whether they were older or younger. And really, that was a ploy to get data on face recognition software. I'm just very skeptical about all these things.
You don't, I don't think you need to hashtag. That's totally optional.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess you don't. If you're doing it, you know where you are. You know what you're doing.
Oh, you mean you yourself would choose if you wanted to hashtag pesticide free with whatever you were doing?
Yeah, like you take your picture and then if you put the hashtag to it, then you're the one that's posting it on social media, correct?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Optional.
Just as long as we don't get into any trouble with the town.
Well, the privacy issues and all that, they're valid concerns and they're experienced by anybody who has a social media account. I'm no lawyer, but I don't think that just because you do a hashtag pesticide free on your social media account, it exposes you to any more privacy concerns than what you already undertake by the very virtue of having a social media account.
Yeah, no, my concern was if somebody did the hashtag and because the town is sort of promoting it, it could put the town in a challenging position. But maybe if we just get the town attorney to look at it, then we're fine.
Okay, and if it is important to a generation that understands hashtags, then I do want to try and leave it.
Yeah,
I just want to like put it out there that I have no idea how they work. Zero. I've never done one in my life.
All right. Sorry for that. Looks like really nice work, Ellen. Thanks for putting that together.
Okay, so wrapping up then, we will finalize the letter and Roy's gonna send us some more information, and then Ellen and Ashok will work on the sign for the Lomo area, and then for the pesticide free pledge, like our goal would be to just check the website and make sure that everything's fine, bring it to EDHP on Friday, and then get it on for adoption and purchasing of the signs in September.
Sounds great.
There's one quick issue that I wanted to bring up. I did some outreach to the local industries, GE in particular. Laura, Richard Elsenberg finally contacted me. He called me on the telephone. He's great. He's like awesome. I asked him why I told him that we were very happy with what GE is doing. The Lomo on their property looks great. He was a little apologetic and he said, like, we didn't really think about the environment or anything like that. It was purely a cost-saving measure.
It's actually completely fine.
Yeah. And I said, dude, that's a great way to go Lomo. It's like, think of all the cost you're saving and noise pollution and all that. And he said, like, why don't you write something up how we can partner with the town more on biodiversity, and I'd send it to my boss and then we can have a bigger discussion. So I am in the process of writing this email, but I don't want to say something that I should not say. So can I send it to the CAC before I send it over to Richard Elson sorry, I forgot his name.
Yeah, I think that would work, and we just sort of make when you send the email out, just to keep things moving, just we'll put a finite time when people have to respond by. Are you?
Yeah, I think that would be completely fine. Send it to us. We'll double check it. And I think that it's just in some ways totally awesome that low mo is also a cost saving thing that a corporation would undertake, because that just gives us more. It's just another way to connect with people to do something that's going to help the environment. Obviously, like if it's a dollar cost savings thing, that's very powerful when you're trying to have conversations with people. So sometimes you start it out by this is going to save bugs, and sometimes you start the conversation out with this is going to save money. Yeah. And in either case, if you're winding up in a point where you're not mowing as much, then it's a win. So I think that's really cool, and I think it would be really good to get that the connection with GE, so that maybe we're doing it on both public and private property, and that they can get some public kudos for it, and we can make that connection. So if you want to send us that email, that'd be great, Ashok.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Dot, like a couple of meetings ago, you said you could potentially look into contacts at Knowles.
Capel, yeah, I have looked into it. I haven't hit the right person yet, but I will continue to look. Thank you for reminding me. But
okay, and does anyone have any contacts at the SI group? Like they have 10 soccer fields that are mowed to a quarter inch. I would love to have a conversation with them at some point.
I can look for one. The soccer fields at Jenner Road Park, though, are town owned.
No, I just meant to give a size. Like I peeked inside when we were driving. They have a huge yard. Like it is huge. It is huge. And there's no biodiversity there. It's completely flat. So I sometimes people just don't think about it, and if you talk to them about it, they're totally game. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to have a conversation with them.
I'll find one.
Okay.
Just keep reminding me. It takes me a while, just like with GE, but Richard is amazing. I'm glad he finally called you. Yeah. I can find somebody for SI group.
Okay, I'll keep reminding you. Thank you.
Great. So, Laura, are we ready to move on to the reports? Laura, do you have any updates?
Yeah, I actually don't have any reports. I kept that in there. I don't know that. I mean, you guys got the Celts update. You're still working on it. If I have more, I'll bring it to you. But a lot of stuff is just still working through the process. So I'll keep you guys updated, but there isn't anything specific tonight.
Okay, great. So, shall we adjourn, or do we want to talk some more?
I had a quick question, please. Yeah. How do you renew your membership of the CAC? Is there a form to be filled?
Oh, yeah. When it turns to November, I typically send out an email asking everybody if they want to continue on the CAC. And then as long as you respond to me and you've, been regularly attending or trying, we put your names back to the town board, and typically everybody gets reappointed in January. So I just reach out to you in November, December for reappointment.
Okay, Laura, and any update on the badges?
No, you know what? And I sent an email following the last time, so let me send her one more. I mean, town hall is a little bit understaffed still, but I don't think there's any reason why I don't have the badges yet. So let me check into that again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does somebody want to move to adjourn?
I move. I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Good night.